Wait for a few more minutes or? But we do have a quorum.
Well, it's a workshop.
Yeah, it's a workshop. We're not voting on anything anyway. But it's always good to get him input from everybody. Do we have the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, starting with police department again.
Is this mine?
Yeah.
Is that somebody's ego?
Was that?
Is that somebody's ego being first?
It just happens to be.
Is it alphabetically? Before we spend all the money, want to make sure this department gets funded.
I mean, I may or may not have created the whole format of things, so it worked out that way.
You're welcome.
That had me confused last meeting, because I was looking and we avoid police on, but that's gotta be a mistake. So I started looking.
I can put it at the back. Or I can put it right in the middle. That way there's no problems. So the suggested things and things that were either talked about or came about changed from the last one are highlighted in yellow. And so starting the revenue, the surcharge and police fines and fees, all the change on that was rounding up from 13.5% from the end FY 23 estimate to the FY 24 estimate to 15%. I can tell you it's probably closer to 25%, but conservatively 15%. 13.5 was just kind of a weird number. It just that first workshop, we just kind of guesstimated, didn't really have a refined number. So this is refining some things on the revenue side. And then some things that were forgotten, the telephone internet, there was a little increase on that. Speaking of 25%. Because we have to actually order some routers to go into the patrol cars for internet that was not included. The MDT service contract, that also was not originally included. And the dispatch contract, that is the actual finite number for what it's going to be. Last time it was just an estimate.
So wasn't that supposed to be going down with the
No, it was not going to increase to 40-something thousand.
with the new computers?
Yeah, so when that meeting, it's going down from what would have been.
Also, so we were doing that to stop a
Stop
huge
that.
hike.
Yes.
Okay, well, I
So-
knew it was to save money, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, so I still say no matter what, it's going to go up a little bit,
Okay,
but
yeah, I guess you're right. Thank you for the
Yeah.
reminder. Okay.
have me worried for us. I'm pretty sure I said that, but maybe not. But
Well, I couldn't remember exactly how it went. I've slept since then,
Yeah.
but yes. Yeah,
Even if you-
I remember now you said, yeah, it's gonna go skyrocket if we don't do this. So
Correct.
That's basically the deal.
and so I just had the meeting last week, and then brought all that up, and this was the final number for where we're at. So
Okay.
still a
Yes,
little bit of an increase, but not.
not terrible.
Yeah, 17,800 to 19,400 sounds a lot better to me than 40. What did I tell you it was? I can look it up, but it was like 46,000
Mhm.
Yeah.
per year.
Yeah, that's an increase.
So,
So why the big increase in miscellaneous?
and that's for the computers. Because I never included the computers, the laptops.
Nice to just say computers.
The tablets. In my infinite wisdom, I did not. If I would have been thinking, I would have included that when we did that initial increase to buy the MDTs, I would have included the computers in that.
Right.
I failed to do so. So that's,
Turns out that.
it's a one,
It's one time shot, I know that,
but that's why.
but it's like miscellaneous is such a ambiguous word.
It is. No, that is very true. And we thought about that. And my point to the clerk was that instead of adding a one-time line item that we'll probably never use again.
Yeah.
Miscellaneous, it made more sense to put it.
Right, I have no problem with it, I just didn't know what it was.
And that's fair because it doesn't have a specific description, but that was the most generic line item instead of making a whole new line item. For that. The court fees, that's also that
Coming from my room.
part of that
Shut
15%
that thing
where I
off.
just rounded it off. to
Oh, Josh.
15% Instead of 13.5, because the court fees is obviously included in that. And the last change that was made since the last workshop was on capital projects, which is the last page. Oh, no, sorry, wastewater enterprise fund. So after, I already went over that one. That's part of the revenue increase from the, because that's part
Just
of,
went over?
I did.
Oh.
I didn't hear you.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
So the court fees is part of, when I said I rounded off the revenues to 15% instead of 13.5. Because the court fee surcharge,
Also, all
Yes,
of-
yes.
those, all three are all tied to that one single stream.
Okay,
So it's right.
gotcha.
The wastewater. So we went back and pulled the numbers when I told you with the estimate at the time that we were gonna be a little bit under budget. And I said that, we only had 200 and what I did not take into account is we have multiple customers that have more than one service charge on sewer. So if we increase sewer by $1 and they have 6 taps, being charged 6 for one, I was counting just the amount of taps, not those additive charges in there. And so this was adjusted to reflect that. For example, commercial pays double. They pay for 2 taps, even though this is one specific tap, but they have 2 doubling of charges for commercial. Same with like the motel. Things of that nature, they have multiple charges. It's one account. But they pay a higher rate than residential. They don't just pay the flat 36, they pay 72, for example. So
Makes sense.
so when I refactored that in for those, that was revised upward to reflect that. That's why the answer would be, that's why water didn't change, because that was already reflected. And sewer did. It's
Right.
because I did not account for sewer when I was doing those calculations. So that brings us pretty close to a little bit over, including the depreciation fund still being included. So it gets us above that. So we still have a depreciation fund that we can pay into at the end of the year as currently sitting.
Yeah.
Wastewater.
We go past general administration.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going over the changes that were made so far.
Okay,
Now, I was gonna circle back.
okay.
Way back,
And then,
almost to the last page.
actually, this is the last page.
Oh, we're on capital projects.
And then the last one, we added we didn't add the line, but we funded it because before it was 0. And $20,000 for capital projects, which would be general fund. That way,
Oh, I guess I got you.
there's a funding mechanism for anything that comes up that is not part of the water wastewater aspect, whether it be appraisals, demo, whatever, there's a funding line that's in there.
Pretty nice to the school.
That's actually, we have a meeting on 28th with White Up. I think it's 28th.
I don't want to go to that. I wanted to get that done years ago.
And so I believe I'll confirm you before you leave today, I'll confirm you the date. I want to say it's the 28th, but let me confirm.
Sunday, May 28th.
Yeah, it might not be the 28th. I'll confirm before you leave.
Okay.
You get a lot of kids walking in the dark.
Later on.
Yeah, that's scary.
So that's, that 20,000 would, could be, it's not designated for anything specifically. It was 0. Now it's 20,000 as a. Talking with the mayor as a mechanism where it's budgeted. If a project comes up, it's already budgeted to be able to pay for if we come up with it. And those were all the changes since the last meeting. So now we can circle back and
You know, between Pine Street and the school, that's super hard.
Is there?
They're in a light, they're in a house. They're
For everybody.
the end of
how
Pine
would that
Street.
look?
Oh, where it goes like
Well, I
this.
I was talking to the guy
So
who bought
Pine Street's got.
Kelly Mills
sidewalk,
place
goes all the
on
way,
Maple.
At the end of zigzags.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, school stuff like I got my
And
yard
Pine
and stuff.
Street all the way to the school.
And he said,
Like,
Riverton sewer, it's a basement fund. Your, how many water, how much water you use, so it's a ratio, so if you use 10,000 gallons, you pay. This much for sewer rate,
So it's very.
right, so it's a variable.
How would that be a metered thing that we'd?
So what you do, you figure out an algorithm,
And just take their usage and just,
yeah, and multiply it for a factor.
But the issue of that would be if you were looking at your water in your yard,
Okay, this is just for commercial though.
oh, for commercial.
yeah,
Oh,
I guess-
oh,
I
oh,
don't want, so, yeah, he
Yeah.
complained about summertime, for, he gets charged for water in his yard, his garden. But. He doesn't go in the sewer system,
right,
but
right.
I'm thinking, what happens, if we just did this for the commercial businesses? So that their sewer rate is based upon how much water is used in their business,
versus a higher flat rate.
okay? And so you may have to look and say there's, like, the train. The place over here, they use a lot of water,
Not so much sewer.
but no, but there's, the sewer. So where does their water go? So we can bring this up later on as a thought.
Yeah, I'd get Mike's input on that too, but yeah, it wouldn't be a. I mean, I'd be curious to see how it would actually affect the
Yeah.
rates overall.
Right.
I mean, that's something we could toy around with and get back to you and say, this is what it would look like compared to this is what it is now. And then just sample a couple of the ones that are paying
A
it.
couple of towns and say, so you charge different rates for sewer, for commercial and for. And how do you charge for sewer? It's flat rate. Most towns, little towns charge a flat rate. Riverton charges based on how much water you use
For commercials.
for everybody.
Oh.
Riverton is for everybody.
Interesting.
Some residents do have irrigation
Yes,
in Riverton.
yes. I'm aware of that. From the downhill side of the ditch.
Yep.
Yeah. Uphill side of the ditch, you're not.
So I don't know, do we need to go over the police? Since that's pretty
Okay,
much where all the changes were.
my question on the PD were. You feel that this is. Of course, we're trying to guess what the future would be. What's been our average percent we've been under? And that the race that just did sort of take that in, because we've been under every year. We do have more officers working, correct?
We've been under as far as.
Estimate on what we think we'll take in for revenue.
Under,
Higher revenue than estimated.
No,
Right.
we're say our estimate's 250 and we actually take in 300.
yes, correct, yes.
So we're under.
Okay,
estimate.
I was going, I thought you were
Yeah.
talking the other way. I was
Me
like,
too.
no, we're- yeah. That's why I was like,
I'm like, no, we're over.
No, what I'm saying, if we would rather be under than over. So we have some sort of safety margin, but are we even where we're at now? Is that,
well,
should we be a little higher or we're right where we ought to be? I'm just, because we want a safety net, but how much of a safety net do you think we have? It's just a question.
yeah, so I can when I opened, I said, I'm pretty fairly confident. When I say fairly, I mean 90+ confident that we will exceed our revenue estimate from 2023 by 25%, just because our current staffing levels right now and projecting that over the course
Right.
of the whole year. But that is, when I say 90%, 5% of that means I think that might still be, we might be closer to 35% under.
Okay.
But the other 5%, we could be 15. I went with the other way with the budget.
You went you went about 15%.
So that's just me being pragmatic and trying to be, I would rather us towards the end of the year in May, say, okay, we have excess
Right.
revenue.
What are we gonna do with it?
We can,
So-
if we have a project, we can always raise we
You
have the
bet.
ability to raise our
ability, yeah.
revenues, to raise our
That's a lot
expenditures
better than trying
versus
to
saying,
scramble
Do
to
the
get
other way.
cash.
Yeah.
versus having the clerk say, okay, we're on a spending freeze, we're not spending
So-
anything
so-
other than, you know what?
Realistically, we should have at least a 10% cushion here.
I
On this,
believe-
that's where you think we're at.
Yeah.
That's probably a good place to be. I just wanted to clarify that, there's,
And it's variable, it could be 27% higher, it could be 18% higher,
sure,
but 15, I felt was the low end of where we would,
right.
the 5% chance that
Sure.
we'd be on that low end.
Maybe people will just start slowing down, yeah.
Sure.
Oh, no, they whip through.
I'm on that road too.
I'll see you doing 32, Tammy.
Oh, yeah. I was pushing it.
I know.
It's just crazy being sitting on the porch watching the sun go down or come up.
Okay, that was the
Leaving.
one,
how they
just sort of
do it.
explain
Oh,
that.
God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and at least on these things, I mean, it's better,
Yeah, correct,
in the 4 years I've been doing this, it's always better to be on the low end.
Yeah.
correct.
Some people just wide open when they hit the motel.
And the court fees reflect the same sort of.
Yes, because they're a part of, they're
Right,
all
right,
tied
yeah.
up in that.
Yeah. Okay.
Administration, that's a different department, so. Anything on that one?
Do you have any suggestions? That were. Missing here, additional staff or anything else, Kim, that you possibly,
Well, since we just started talking about that, I wasn't certain on that.
okay,
We got about, what, a month to.
right, we have some time to put it
Yeah.
together, okay,
Well, yeah, after, first reading, there's still make changes as needed.
right.
Right.
This is just trying to get the
Right.
biggest.
That's why I was
things-
saying she's still got time. That's
Oh,
what I
yeah.
was all
Yeah.
saying.
This hopefully to get the consensus on the big ones and just tailor the things that are
Right.
specific
Yeah.
and not trying to do the whole thing at once.
Okay.
We went down on the general administration estimates. Outside personnel, they're pretty much the best estimates that we could get. I did get final notification that we are now officially tax exempt on the medical clinic as of today.
Oh, you did?
Yes,
Oh, that's great.
Done issue.
For the year or?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Permanently, we're done. We are tax exempt. As long as we have a medical center in there or a medical facility. in there. Now, if we change its use,
Then
that's different,
tax would change.
but for now,
decision came down from the state to the county,
well, the Department of Health backed us
right,
Right.
and said, yes, this is a hospital. So they didn't really have a choice, because that was what I filed for the exemption, is that it's a hospital.
Well, that's what it,
Well, by
Yeah.
definition, it is. The governmental use issue is still a different thing. That's what we filed last time on. And that was undefined. They didn't win that one. That's why they had to pay us back. But now we are done. We're exempt.
as long as it stays the way it is.
Correct. Yeah. If we lease it out to, an antique store, we'll probably be paying tax.
On your postage, one time we talked about, postage machine
Mhm.
that does it all.
We looked into that and wish Kathy was here. I should have got back with you, then I apologize. We looked into it and the metered things that we would do here would actually take a lot more time because the way we have to, just the way we process our mail with our water bills and stuff, you know more than I do, so I'll let you, but he had asked about doing a metered
Yeah.
in town where we weigh it
Having the,
and then we pay the vendor fee and all that stuff. You know more about that than I do, so.
yeah, I just talked to Reagan about that the other day, actually, when I took our utility bills over and he said that you guys had been talking about it. And I said, yeah, I had looked into it in the past to see, because there's a lot of factors that you have to weigh into it. The cost of the rental of the machine, how much is it actually saving you? How much time is it costing you? And I don't know what you guys looked at.
The rental is about $7.50 and then there's the postage, but we get a bulk rate right now,
We get
so.
3 cents off.
So when you factor those two things in, it's actually cheaper
Okay,
doing it the way we're doing it.
When you factor in man hours.
For
If you added 500
yeah.
more people to this town where we had 500 more bills going out, that might change but because of where we're at.
Yeah,
you've answered my question.
So.
yep.
And you've already added your 66 cent.
Yeah.
back in there. Way back.
I remember when they were a quarter.
Yeah,
I know you remember when they were 5 cents.
You don't?
No. I just remember a quarter. You
I
listen to,
remember a quarter, I think,
yeah, that's,
which sounds like a lot, but when it's like, hey, would you take this letter to my friend and deliver to Alaska for 25 cents or 50 cents?
we put it that way.
Seems like a good deal.
For the rest of them, I was just going over the clerk's office and we were pulling historical supplies. The office supplies one, I think that was, we talked about that last time. It was an extra 10,000 for office supplies for the new town hall,
Yes.
the furniture and whatnot, or desk. That's why that one was so high. And streets and alleys, I had a chance to talk to Mike, so we just kind of went with historical last year and looked for things that we knew that would be needed, like gravel, street sign replacement, and some little extra cold mix to patch some potholes up, and had made those adjustments without his input, but he's here now, so.
Mike, do you have some additions, numbers that you want to bring to us?
Yeah.
Do you have some numbers you'd like to bring to us?
for the,
Streets and alleys?
yeah, I have a.
Do you have a copy of this?
Yeah.
Okay, wait.
You can sit here, Mike. Mike, this is Mike.
Yep, Mike?
Mike and Mike.
Yeah. Somebody wanted to get back to me. He was supposed to before the end of the day, but he didn't. But I got a. Quote. Proposal from. Days Apple. To fix, California maple. Patch a hole and skin patch around that. Manhole for people.
Mhm.
That's it. He runs on California. He quoted me at 3,600.
3,600.
Yeah.
So we might need to maybe at least
That's
go
for the
with,
paving. Like I said, that's the big back, he said he'd have it before the end of the day, but he never said what. But I had him out here checking everything. And then I had Mike take him around with all the bad spots. Cause they're quarterly, was it? On the road base, 71 cents, $8 a ton. But what I'm hearing is that they don't have any road, they think there's like a 2M, so I was gonna call 2M up. and see what
Get it
he
directly.
charges- See what he charges
Yeah.
for that deliver, because, and the delivery charge, he put it on his like class. But these guys are voting 20 at Dave's asphalt. But he didn't give me the delivery charge. He said good, but. We'll talk to him. See what the-
What do you, where are you gonna use the road base for the streets, for the gravel and grading, or
There's one alley back here that's pretty terrible,
just pack it in there?
yeah. I want to say,
How many tons do you think it's gonna be?
I told Mike to measure for me, he didn't measure. They can. They said he could probably, well, 71 said they could just bring in, not figures. Is one truck. What ends up probably be.
2,000?
Yeah. Something like that.
I think about 6,000 for gravel, and then we get some from Whiteout too, they donate to us.
There's a few other spots that Mike pointed out. I think there's one on Fourth Street, I think. Fourth Street. Yep.
Well, let me ask you this, I was guessing from what I thought, so I put $8,000 for gravel, which would include your road base. And 3,000 for paving, but that was only factoring in cold mix for ones we would do ourselves, not for Dave's asphalt. So. Do you think you need more?
More for paving,
Yeah, obviously you do for paving, sorry, for gravel, I'm sorry,
well, for the gravel,
yeah.
yeah, you might, well. Let me see what Mike has on the numbers and. And I can figure it out.
Okay.
Might be back here. Mike was supposed to, let me see. Some dimensions. We're pretty busy.
I know.
Fair what it's here, we call, we'll do another.
Make that 7,000.
And I'll
Okay.
talk to 2M tomorrow,
Paving,
doing construction.
make that 7.
Prices.
We get that. That's Dave.
Yeah,
That's pretty,
that would still,
that seems reasonable.
that would still leave 3,000
For,
for
that's what I was kind of feeling like right in there.
pretty much just make
7, 8,
Yeah,
somewhere
just-
in there.
that extra cost, having that extra cost
Haven't
add
been up
to
and
it
down
instead
all
of
the streets. but
zero
I
it
know
out, just
there's
that one
some.
thing. Just add,
Yeah,
I made gravel one too,
yeah, probably 10,000
I'd make it 10,000 for gravel,
as a road
Kinda
base.
road days, yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm hearing.
I mean, we have a place to store. If we can get it cheap, let's
Right,
get it. Yeah, I'd rather just have it stockpiled and.
Yeah.
Use it as we need it.
yeah, we did that a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So for now, make it 10,000 and 7,000 for those two.
10 and 8.
What do you want, 10 and 8?
Yeah, 10 and 8.
Well, while we're asking for money, let's go back to the police department.
Are you gonna increase your revenue so that we can put more? in the
I was
streets?
trying to help you out there, Chris. I was trying to help you out.
It sucks to go first.
It's your fault.
I know. I was hoping, so 10 and 8 then?
Yeah.
So, are we? Just sort of bring this out, while Mike's here, we're gonna have to make a decision. On, maybe it won't cost too much, whether we we need to at least get the backhoe running. And maybe make the decision to sell it or keep it. And then we got some other surplus equipment that we could possibly get rid of. I know in the past we looked at. There's that one little diesel. Or like tractor for used lawn work. I know there was some interest in the past crew of keeping that and repairing it. That's a couple $1,000s to fix. 'Cause we tried to sell it, couldn't get nothing out of it. But it's about they're worth about $4,000 on the open market last time I checked prices for them, if they're reasonable shape.
Put in 1,000 and get 4,000 back
Or you could put in 2,000
or 2,000.
and get 4,000, but Mike, I didn't appreciate Mike's opinion of that tractor. Look at if he thinks it's worth, if we have a purpose for it. There are some tools that used to be with it, used to come and have a brush hog. For whatever reason, they sold that brush hog at an auction.
That'd be the
Oh.
thing to keep.
That would be the thing
Yeah.
to keep, yes. So, but it's gone, so. But I don't know what all we got with it, and it's worth,
with the Bobcat.
no, there's a small tractor. A little bit bigger than a lawnmower, diesel. I think it's got a 3-point hitch. I think.
Oh, yeah, I remember trying to sell that.
But I think
years
it-
ago and you couldn't-
Yeah, it
nobody
couldn't,
in the-
and the verdict that it needed fuel pump replaced on it, injector pump. Was the verdict we got, cause it tried to run and it'd run a little bit and stop and. So, I mean, I don't know if that was, they said they checked fuel filters, plug lines and everything else, that's the first thing that came to mind. And they described the symptoms of it, but I never got mechanicing on it, but. You know, when I said it was a handy little tractor, I don't know if there's, what other utensils that come with it.
Got a bucket or anything?
No, don't have a loader.
No more.
It may or may not have a mower.
I mean, no brush hog.
No brush hog, that was the big thing.
I don't know
Brush
What
hog
we
was,
would need it for, I don't know.
yeah, I don't know either, but there's sentiment we did for some reason.
Cause it had a brush hog.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, after the brush hog was gone, there's still sentiment. Brush hog was gone long before I got here.
Well, we have that mower now for that Bobcat.
And we did buy, yeah,
That works pretty good.
and we got another, new John Deere, what, 2 years ago or lawnmower also. But anyway, if we don't need it, maybe we sell it, and if we get $200, we take it, or do we fix it and gamble, we can get our money, get extra money back by fixing it, I don't know. Might have a decent mechanic look at it if anybody knows one. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that. You got anything else you think that we may need to get rid of or something?
Oh, this stuff, that goes.
Oh, and that old blade. That old blade,
Yeah,
Champion.
One with the blown engine.
the one with the John Deere with the blown engine.
I just sit there.
And maybe we got an additional pickup. Or two or,
Yeah, there's a 93 sitting there.
yeah,
I think it starters out on the. Put a battery in it.
yeah. Think we're gonna put a starter in it, right, Mike, and then get it running and
Yeah,
probably try to sell that too. Okay. That could give you some more operating money on tools and other things too. Just thoughts. Anything else? We need,
oh, we got over there.
No, we sell, we can put it back in the streets and alleys, I guess. So we did with the police department,
Right.
everything else, and
yeah. We can find a
Yeah.
place to spend it.
I'm thinking if we're not using that and don't need it, we have to sell it, cause it ain't gonna increase in value.
Correct.
And it ain't gonna look any prettier sitting there broke down.
No, we don't need it.
we can
Scary.
Get rid of it. Yep. Figure out.
either make it work and we just sell it as is.
Right, sell that grader as is.
Yeah, we're not gonna mess with the grader. But if we get the backhoe, it's just a simple fix to get it running, we think it might be. And same with that pickup, might be just a simple fix.
Okay.
We don't wanna spend a ton of money on,
The next one is Parks and Rec is your next one, Mike. You don't really have a whole lot on this one.
we should. Hopefully we get notification this week whether our trailhead proposal is successful. That may have some impact here.
Well,
It may be very little, because I think most everything is covered in the, the initial build and all of that.
we won't be able, it depends what the contract says. But I can unequivocally say that we will not be able to take on another large project until we get these ones paid off and reimbursed. We're talking $5.5 million or so. We don't have the money to.
Correct.
So we have to get that done. So is that something we put in the budget? Knowing that we wouldn't actually start it until next May? Or is it something that when it comes down, then we add it to the budget? I don't know.
I'd rather wait because we don't
Yeah.
even know if we're gonna get it probably.
No, we know, that's what I brought up,
Yeah.
but I think we're gonna get it.
And I think next May, we probably wouldn't be starting no matter what anyway.
We're gonna have a deadline to get it completed, show ready.
By when?
Don't. I don't know if they'll give us a year to get it in or something. This is something that we put in. This is ARPA funding, so I don't know the exact deadline. When we put our proposal, we proposed we would be starting this year. This upcoming fiscal year.
But that was before we got the other funding at the time we wrote that one, before we got
Sure.
the other grants. We're in budget, so. The reason I'm bringing this up is that. We have to cover outgoing. If you notice on our bill list that was updated, it's $300 something thousand in one cycle. We don't carry that kind of cash in our checking account. So for every time we have to pay these until we get reimbursed, we're losing revenue from interest.
Right.
We have to, and that's just one project. We haven't even started on the ones that are coming yet. So this is a balancing act. I have to say this because we have to measure expectations, how we're gonna do this.
This is why I brought this up.
No,
Yeah.
I'm being frank,
Yeah, yeah.
that I just want everyone to be informed that the clerk, the treasurer, and myself, we're not gonna allow that to happen. We can't, because we have to pay our bills. So once we get the terms of it, we will make adjustments because we have leeway on our other projects. So we'll have to, this can work. It's just gonna take a little bit of,
Robin Peter. and Paul.
no, not so much
No.
that. It's gonna take stacking.
Borrowing From Peter. to pay Paul.
No, I've already,
lack of a
I've
better
already
word,
brought
plan.
this up with the clerk and stuff. This
That we
exact.
can't simultaneously do everything at once, even though we have the grants, they all have to be spent in a year. Great, so if we get this grant, we will have to sit down. And plan out exactly how we're gonna approach these projects. If they all have to be spent in a finite amount of time. Cause we're talking one budget year, and you're talking, there are 500, I think it's 600,000 on the Rock Park.
I think it's for something.
So that's $6 million. Our average budget is 1.8 million. So we're talking about spending 3 times in 1 year what our budget is, which we're getting most of it back.
Right.
But mind you, there's a delay of when we expend it till we get it back, and that's where I'm operating in right now.
Right, how are we gonna?
So
And that's why we have the credit line.
for town hall, yeah.
Yeah.
So town hall, that project's not, I'm not even
Okay.
factoring that into this conversation. It's just strictly the grants with the reimbursement coming in. So we just have to make sure we stagger them over the course of the year. If we get this Rock Park one and they say we have to spend the money by December, we might have to put the brakes on a different project, water project, until after that. Which we can do. And it would be fine. But I just. To get everyone to understand that
How long does that typically take between completion and reimbursement? and all
60
that?
days,
Okay.
Up to 60. It depends,
we're-
it depends on which one you're
We're
doing.
floating all this out until it's actually completed, then
And
another
every-
60 days.
Every day we float that out is loss of income on revenue.
Understood.
So we basically daily look at our outstanding, like we did today, and what's going out. And we wait till a couple days before that hits to maximize the rate of return
Right.
before we have to take it in, but we can't put it back in until we get it back out. And so we're just at the point, we have to have that conversation. And I think it's
Yeah,
important to have.
I don't, yeah, I think we're okay. Don't you?
No.
I mean, you already had this conversation.
We're okay to do them, but not,
Okay,
if we have to do them all by December, we can't do it.
I know.
I have a question on the parks and stuff. Is anything from a right, is any of this money going to the rifle range?
No.
That was my question. Thanks.
On that same line, so what you're saying is that we're currently good, but if we add one more, like we're
We
maxed
would have
out.
to, well, yeah, that's all I'm saying.
At the moment, we're maxed out till somebody's get closed out.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, if we get the sewer project done before that one takes place, that's
Well,
a
then
whole
we're
different, then we're good. But there's
We're
ifs,
currently maxed out.
yes,
Until
if we got the grant
Yeah.
tomorrow and said we're gonna start shoveling tomorrow. And then we have the sewer projects, we're gonna start that in 2 months, or the water project, we're gonna start that in 2 months on top of that. Having all simultaneously going on,
We're gonna be,
you're talking, we'd have orders. $1 million, up to $1 million in some of these pay orders. And we'll get it back. But we have to stagger them, and
right.
so we just have to be careful, that's all I'm saying.
No, I understand.
We're not broke, we're not spending the money we don't have, we're getting it back. I don't want to say that. I'm just saying that,
We just have to do it steps.
We're just having to
Yeah.
float it out there till we get the reimbursement, and we're maxed out on what we can do at the moment. With the projects we currently have at the time,
yes,
till they're done.
but it depends on the terms on this one, when
Right.
it starts and all those things.
No, I'm caught up.
It's just. Because
Hopefully they,
I think they're going pretty quick on the sewer project.
No, they're doing well.
okay. Did we need to get, are we looking at getting some plating done or anything of that on that, or was there a timeline on that?
Yeah, we got some plating we need to do,
Well, you said.
but
they're
that's, yeah,
both- well, isn't that part of that?
but not on this budget. Not on the budget, we're not what we're talking about right now.
They'll be tonight at the actual meeting.
Okay, I didn't know if that had been factored into this. It's okay, gotcha. All right.
No.
I'm slow.
And your wastewater, water,
You can have this.
and again, Mike, this factors in a $1 increase in the water rates on water. We did recommending $4 on sewer, so $5 overall increase, 75 for this year. It's reflected right now in the water and the wastewater revenues.
Just
I didn't
need the
know.
one back.
Senior, back up, did we do anything with senior housing at all?
Today,
Yeah.
I was just going over all Mike's departments and see.
Okay. We just always skipped that. Okay, good.
I was trying to,
Right, good enough.
the senior housing is more of the
Right,
council
right.
than as a department head than.
Okay.
One thing I didn't know, Mike, is on the meters repair. That's kind of a dual edged budget.
Yeah.
So I know you got some like the readers that we had to need to replace and stuff like that. I don't know. Can you think more for those or? I didn't know.
We have some. I've got some
Oh, you, okay.
of them readers.
Mhm.
I
The
think
what?
They came in 50 a pop.
Oh, okay.
About a pop. Low, I think we were down to about 2. Wasn't good. The readers. And they just have to get longer.
Fair enough.
There's this water line from East Colorado, that come on. Park.
Oh, yeah, that'd be under parks.
You guys just want a regular 1-inch line? Or would you think of adding?
I think a 1 inch, because this is gonna be the 2 bathrooms and then a spigot for hose. I think the other one's a half or yeah, 1 inch. Oh, you're thinking of 2 inch, yeah.
2 inch will provide 4 times the water as a 1 inch. So it depends on if we're gonna have anything else hooking
We got the
to it.
2 bathrooms, and I think we're gonna put a spigot.
I'm gonna mention that
Okay.
1-inch line does not carry a lot of water.
So 2 inch line then.
2-inch?
That's what we got from, and it's pretty unimpressive.
But also the length of the line will have an impact.
Yes.
How long's your 1 inch line?
I don't know, from wherever they tied into it, I guess, I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? Cause you have friction inside.
What's the difference in cost between 1-inch and 2-inch?
Pardon?
What's the difference in cost between 1-inch?
Haven't priced it in a long time.
Quite a bit.
Is it?
But
That for the parts, for the line is one.
1 2 inch will supply 4 1 inch lines.
Right.
But when you put in something. Anything over 300 feet when you go up,
Correct. That's why I was asking this.
so you got 1 inch right now, it's good, because. That's a little over 200 feet over there. 215 feet or something, 210 feet. So
I think it's,
if it was that 300, then you go up another, you go up to 1.25 inches. And so forth, 1.5 inches. As you extend it out.
Right.
it is a long ways of 1-inch.
So that's what I'm saying. That's. Could
That's what you're saying, yeah.
be your issue. 1 inch, if all they're gonna do. Is just the bathroom and one spigot.
Bathroom.
Maybe.
And spigot.
That's why I thought.
Right,
1
that'd
inch
be
would
okay.
enough.
I'm not an engineer.
Not either. But there's actually code distance line size. Water line. That we're.
I thought
Cities
1 inch would be
require
enough.
to put in.
It's just a bathroom.
If we run a water line,
And then
1 inch will be good for that.
then over.
Then a wash hand wash,
Line,
thinking
I
that-
think going north of town, that it should be. a
10 years down the road,
city.
pretty much splash pad.
That's probably.
we'd have to have a different line than probably, yeah. Or you.
Well, so
It's gonna go right up underneath where that would be, yeah.
Yeah. my question is, if we look at that future projections of that park. Put a splash pad in 10 years from now. Is 1 inch line big enough for that, or do you have to put a whole separate meter in? Or can you put in a 2 inch now and say that 2 inch provide for water for both? That's my thing, and looking
Right.
down the road, 10 years.
Sure. Good point. And yeah, I don't know. Is a meter 2 inch? water meter, or we put one in it yet? What are we gonna do?
I thought we put a 2-inch on
On the other
the
side,
other side for the.
we're
lines.
not, we're not bringing the water from there.
Okay,
It's coming.
From the
First
alley?
Street, yeah.
Yeah. So we don't have to tear up the park,
okay.
sort of thing. So,
I just,
No,
right, no, good point.
no, it is, we have to repeat it then.
yeah, so. Looking down the road, that's all. Trying to save some money and time and. You're welcome.
I think that would require a little bit more discussion before he actually installs it then.
But. Yeah, I'd like to have an idea where we're gonna put the rock. Park, we're gonna,
But that 1 and 2 inch, whatever we do, that'll be paid for this budget year. We got a
Right.
grant for that, so that won't impact you here.
Okay.
yeah,
Guess I should point
correct,
that out.
correct, yeah.
All right.
And your wastewater. Again, pretty much we just pull over what kind of was. Historically spent every year versus what the budget was, what was actually spent and then added. Approximately 20% to some of them. You think you'll need more in training?
True.
You got $2,500 currently in the water fund for training and then 1,000 in the sewer for training, so 3,500 total. I don't know with your conferences and
And looking,
all that stuff.
training, Mark. You want, looking at the wastewater,
Yeah, Bard and Mike.
Mike was focusing on water
Okay.
right now. I can get both of them out. Certified that. Help out. Well, I keep asking when they're gonna be ready to test with you. Just take it, then when you know what you're. When you're.
Yeah.
Well, you had a busy winter.
You're slacking it.
Have they been working with Kim at all and got all the information they needed for that?
Yeah.
Okay,
I've been, I get different, webinars from EPA,
right,
UCN, I've been forwarding them to, Mark,
mm-hmm,
Mike. Mike gets kind of the same as I get, so
okay,
I just send them to them. It's up to them to register and
sure,
attend. That's how I do my hours for my license. Webinars. Yep, I'll have two that will expire next year. If I make it to one conference, I can get enough hours for one. These webinars, they have,
yeah.
I get hours.
You okay with the training?
Better.
Okay,
The last one was the capital projects.
I'll be going to mosquito training next week.
Yay.
Next week.
Make it next week. Weekend.
what I'll say on this, there's obviously gonna be a adjustment on this, and both the revenue is gonna decrease and expenditures will decrease by 200 something thousand, because we just paid $200,000 to the sewer project. 196,000 right now, plus 12,000.
Basically 190.
So that, these come off these numbers. It's not gonna change, it's not gonna affect the balance proposal. It's just gonna reduce instead of instead of $1.485 million in revenue, you'll take off the 200 something, because it's a 95.5 grant. So you'll take off 100%. Or sorry, 95% of that check off the revenue, then you'll take 100% off the expenditure. So it offsets, but it's not gonna change the actual balance at all. It's just gonna be a lower number on both, because we just paid some more that we didn't know when we were gonna pay it when we first put this together. Mhm. That's pretty much the same with all the grants.
This airplane,
It is, it's correct on now,
this didn't print out right.
no, it did not.
I was looking for it.
Yeah, that's the airport. Joel's is right, though. He got the right one, apparently. Same numbers, just
Yeah,
wonky print off. Mhm. Okay, so on this last budget, general fund balance 43,000. Need to minus 30,000 off of that, so we have $13,000. Minus those upgrades, we have about $6,000. Because the PER apparently didn't get added to the expenditure side. The USDA Rural Development Water PER. On the revenue side is 30,000. There should be a $30,000 commensurate expenditure that's not included in that balance. That needs to be added. And so. That needs to be minused out. We need to minus out 37,000. Leaves 6,294. And that's just general fund, not enterprise fund. In the positive, not negative.
Where was that at? You said on general revenues?
Capital projects.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
Yep, yep,
revenue.
yep, not on this,
And
yeah,
I was just looking right now. I don't know how I didn't add that.
sure, correct,
We added this one, the EQ one,
sure.
but we just missed that one grant on the offset that. It takes us down to 6,000 after those changes, so. I mean, it's still positive. but, no, it'd be nice to have an extra 30,000.
The CAD funding, we're gonna get 10,400
Yeah, but yeah, well, I need to update that.
right,
So I need to update that one
also,
to 10,400.
yep, 10 instead of 8,
And that's
they
gonna be,
raised it,
that'll be a direct offset because it's
yeah, we're gonna spend it,
not gonna, yeah.
yeah, we're gonna spend it, but that's
Needs to be reflective. You said 10,4?
10 for you, 30%. Did we talk anything about senior housing?
No. I just wanted to make sure Mike had all his partners covered.
Right, you bet. Senior housing, I just wanted to touch bases, we're putting $10,000 out of savings into the budget.
Yep, to increase the repair and
And
maintenance,
it's
12,500. To replace water heaters, stoves. Appliances, things of that nature.
Your estimate's based on all units full. Or can.
11.5. Basically, one unit being unoccupied for 6 months.
Miscellaneous reading.
But we just still have a waiting list, so. I'm pretty confident.
Most
Most of
are
them, 1 month, yeah.
livable, they'll be.
I really think we should look at a 5% rate.
We're gonna have to do something if it's losing money every year.
I mean, we should,
It's not sustainable.
It's losing money when you count upkeep,
we got a
Which
lot
we
of,
do have.
which
to.
you have to do. That's why we have transfer
Yeah.
savings.
and we're gonna have quite a bit in the near future.
Right, it seems like they're starting to have more and more.
Well, some of the utility,
20 years old.
that's what I was gonna say.
Right.
Some of the equipment in there, fixtures are 20 years old. And so if you don't do any replacement, yeah, it's a balanced budget, but
I don't
that's
wanna
not feasible, especially after 20 years.
get ourselves in a bind on this where we're gonna have to do something drastic. I'd rather.
Do a little at a time.
Well, if you remember last year, we did not increase, we made it so the 335 stayed, that didn't actually increase for them, it just stayed the same. But it became somewhat income dependent, so if you made more than abject poverty, your rent was gonna go up.
Right.
But the 335 stayed the same, it didn't increase.
Yeah.
That might be a small, on the low end, might need to be increased, I don't know, $15 or something to that effect, to 350 or something. How much money would that bring in a year?
Would it be enough to make?
Well, 5% would be $3,000. If you brought up the minimum 5%, it'd be approximately
And over 3
$3,000.
years, that would buy a bunch of fridges. Or whatever is necessary.
And 5% would be about 360, 361 or so a month.
I don't know, I like keeping it as low as possible, but if it's not sustaining itself, it's slowly deteriorating, we'll be left with nothing. But
Keep in mind that
before-
utilities included.
No, I know, I'm just saying, if it's not self-sustaining. With upkeep, we will have nothing eventually.
So $15 increase on the minimums would raise $1,800 a year.
But I think we 5% minimum, it's raised 3,000.
Which should be 1675.
You know, I mean, I'm just going 5% or, 5% of 60,000 is 3,000.
I get what you're saying, but. You're taking the whole number I'm talking about per individual, because most of them are paying $335 a month.
Oh, but we're taking 5% of the total. You know, the ones that pay more, whatever, you know what I mean, 5% of the total would bring it up to. Would raise about 3,000. Correct? 5% of, 5% of 60,000. So some would only bring up $15, other people may bring up $25.
Yeah.
Whatever, but it would average. It'd come out to very near $3,000. Food for thought, me to make. That, something like that, I would suggest.
Hate to see it. Deteriorate and not.
Well,
be
we
a
can only
nice
pull from
place.
savings for so long.
What?
We said we can only pull from the savings for so long for improvements. And we have money there, but eventually it runs out.
And. Expenditure.
Are we having more problems with utilities being? An issue where people are running. $400 utility bills.
Not that high, so they were a little bit less this year. We still had 3 units that had. Some trouble monitoring the amount of heat they needed during the winter time. It was a cold winter, but they were abnormally high compared to the rest of the units, so that tells me that. It wasn't that they were freezing, it was just that they were running it too high. And that's why there's an overage charge now in this budget. That they'll have to pay extra. They will be paying extra. We gave them this 1 year. Benefit of the doubt, but this year they'll be getting a bill for over $180 of total usage, including the water and sewer was included in that. They'll have to pay on top of that. And hopefully disincentivize doing that, which would also reduce our expenditures, of course.
Right.
So just because we don't get the revenue is not a bad thing. It means our expenditures are less.
But we're,
Right.
even with that $2,000, we're. Just barely covering the projected expenses.
Correct.
So that's all it's doing.
No, I agree with you. It needs to go up.
Yeah.
But I don't. 5%, I was just pointing out $15 is about 5% would raise the lowest of the low, about $15 a month. That's
Which
where I
is
was.
Not gonna break, should not break anyone. 50 cents a day.
Yeah, that's not a huge raise, but I think my mind, we should do minimum of that. If there's appetite for more, I'm just willing to talk about it. I think that's
I don't
a
have an
start.
appetite for that, but I think it's necessary.
Well, I think we need to.
Yeah, no, I know.
I'm just looking at the budget.
I can recalculate it with a 5% adjustment. If that's something that we want to look at doing.
It needs to be raised, but of course, the only question is how much? 5%, 7%. So, yeah. Raise 5, $15. That's what, 15, like you said, 50 cents on
A day,
I think
a
it's,
dollar a day is $30. That's 10%.
yeah, well, I think a 7.5% increase
Enough to help.
is meaningful, but not hurting, not punitive. Would be the optimum word, I think.
Yeah.
We're not penalizing them. It's just the cost we're incurring over the last year
Trying to keep
has
it nice.
increased. You know, the cost of a water heater, the cost of to go out and replace washers, all that stuff has increased more than 7.5% in some cases,
Like 100.
much more. So, you know, and that's just where we're at. And I know that
I would think-
the maintenance department's done a hell of a job maintaining and being very responsive here recently on getting things fixed but again, we can only pay for so long out of savings. It needs to be paid for year to year outside of a major failure.
So those are 20-year-old buildings. Their roof should be coming due next 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
And we need to refurbish them inside and out. I mean,
7.5 is only a $25 raise.
And I don't think that's too much.
I'd go 7.5.
okay,
That concur.
Yeah.
I agree.
We'll recalculate it 7.5.
Well, it's
I agree.
$25, 12.5,
Yeah, it's,
$25 a raise.
yeah, I mean, it's not a whole lot. I mean,
It
you're on
is.
fixed, it's still a lot. You're on fixed income, I get that, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not
But less than a dollar a day.
insurmountable.
But it keeps it.
That's why I wanted to
It'll
bring
help
that
keep
up.
the housing sustainable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed. Gotta,
That's my concern.
Well, especially for pretty much dollar for dollar that we increase, goes right into,
Back into the housing.
goes right back into the housing under repair and maintenance.
yeah, we're not spending it anywhere else.
Right.
It's not
Yeah.
going to the general fund. It's not going to buy Mike a new lawnmower. It's going strictly into repairs and maintenance on the existing house. So. Okay,
And just saying, we had to borrow $10,000 deep into our reserve, 10,000. Yeah, so. I think it's a good step.
good.
I'm good.
All right, let's relate.
Are we done?
Yeah, we're done.
Got a motion to adjourn? Second, been moving second, we adjourn this budget or this work session. All in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed the same, time 7:20.